Severance is a show about labor organizing. Writer, creator, and showrunner Dan Erickson says the show is about workers reclaiming power, which is obviously a brutal ongoing human struggle. Workers are extremely powerful, but I think solidarity is one of the biggest challenges, especially when those in power try to divide the ranks. In this video, I want to hone in on some of the most insidious psychological strategies that those in power use to try to divide the ranks that are portrayed on the show Severance. And the lessons we'll learn don't just apply to labor organizing. They apply to any kind of organizing, including organizing against your own government, which is sort of relevant to everyone in the world right now. This video will contain spoilers up to season 2, episode 4. One of the most powerful ways that elites keep workers divided is through keeping us physically divided. The different departments in Severance are isolated, spatially kept apart by a labyrinth of featureless hallways and a rule that it is forbidden to map those hallways. Breaking the mapping rule is one of Mark S.'s first acts of defiance. At your job, do bosses keep workers from gathering in one place through the way that they schedule you or the way the space is constructed? In the United States, different communities are kept separated by things like redlining, the abolishment of third spaces, and even the abolishment of something like the Sabbath, a common time when everybody used to have off together. In Severance, when physical separation proves inadequate to keep apart Irving and Bert, management turns to a psyop, or a psychological operation. Psyops are intentional strategies used by corporations, union busters, and/or your government to use propaganda, misinformation, and/or infiltration to influence the target audience's motives, priorities, and behavior. Lumen elites have seeded bizarre, scary rumors about the various departments among their severed employees to prevent them from trusting one another. We learn that O&D and later the goat farmers believe that MDR have pouches in which they contain a larval offspring that will jump out and attack anyone who comes close. Meanwhile, MDR believes in an O&D calamity when O&D came and killed a bunch of MDR employees. In season 1, episode 5, we get confirmation that these rumors have been planted by Lumen management. Irving finds a photocopy of the painting of the O&D massacre on the photocopier, and Milchick pretends I'm so sorry, you weren't supposed to see that. And then in the next scene, Cobell asks Milchick, so you ran a 266 on Irving B? Milchick confirms, saying, I thought it might dissuade him from spending so much time with Bert G. So clearly the photocopier mistake is a psyop, and a numbered one, number 266, meaning there's at least 265 other psychological operations that management will run on their employees to keep them obedient. In the context of your workplace, how is management dividing faculty and staff, doctors and nurses, front of house, back of house? In the context of the United States, clue into all the divisive tactics to keep people of different ethnicities, races, and genders divided, abled and disabled people, right? The documented and undocumented. And the most powerful divisive tactic of all, say it with me, Democrats and Republicans. But what do elites do when their best efforts to keep us divided fail, and like in season 1 of Severance, the workers start communicating with each other and work together to actually seize power, like MDR does when they trigger the overtime contingency? In that case, elites' tactics are going to get even more insidious. One thing union busters do when a workplace is organizing is they'll try to bribe and turn one or more employees against the union and get those workers to campaign for management against unionization. In Severance, Lumen compromises Dylan by holding his family hostage. Milchick takes Dylan aside and secretly tells him that he'll get to see his family in a special family visitation room as long as he becomes a good boy and doesn't cause any more trouble for management. This works immediately. The next time Irving asks Dylan to go with him to find the secret mysterious elevator, Dylan's like, nah, I'm just gonna keep working. About it, in the context of the United States, all of us with families are. Because in the US, your food, housing, and healthcare are all tied to your job, all of us are having our families held hostage by our bosses. We get to have a little visitation with our families. We get to see them at night and on weekends, maybe, if we don't have to work 2 jobs. But we better be good little obedient workers, or our ability to keep our families off the streets and fed and healthy is ripped away. It's pretty fucked up. And just like in the world of Lumen, holding someone's family hostage is a really effective way at keeping them obedient and chained to a shitty job. Dylan was the biggest rabble rouser until he found out he had a wife and kids. Unfortunately for Lumen's managers, this tactic will not work on Irving, Mark, and Helly, who are all single. What to do? Well, when they can't turn workers to compromise them, union busters will often send in a mole. In social justice movements in the US, the FBI has a long track record of sending in infiltrators. Just look up COINTELPRO, which infiltrated the civil rights movement, the environmentalist movement, the feminist movement, and lots of others from the 1950s through the 1970s. With the rise of social media organizing, we've seen a rise in digital infiltrators, sock puppets that pretend to be part of social justice movements in order to spy on them, compromise them, disrupt them from within. Israel, the US, Russia, and China have huge fleets of these sock puppet accounts, but private corporations and other governments all over the world also employ digital sock puppets. A recent report estimated that up to 30% of comments on Israeli news sites are probably fake and from these types of sock puppets. In season 2 of Severance, Heli is really Helena, an infiltrator, a sock puppet being wielded by management to spy on and break solidarity among MDR. I clocked that Heli was Helena right away, mostly because of Britt Lower's incredible acting. I think she's very consistent in playing Heli and Helena with different microfacial expressions, but there were also subtle clues in the writing that showed how Helena was not Heli that are useful for spotting digital infiltrators or IRL infiltrators in our social justice movements. One of the biggest clues, which Irving points out, is that she tells the story of what she did during her overtime contingency of just walking out of her apartment and seeing a gardener. And Irving's like, a night gardener? Because that's not a thing. The fact that her mind goes to gardener is like a very rich person thing, flagging the fact that she's actually Helena Egan and not someone who lives in an apartment. And the fact that she has so little connection to labor like gardening that it wouldn't occur to her that gardeners don't garden at night. One way to catch a Fed is if their stories don't add up. Because of the type of content I usually make, I have been inundated with Israeli and US sock puppets all year, and sometimes their masks have slipped. For example, a couple times I've been arguing in the comments with someone who claims to be Palestinian or Syrian based on what's in their profile. But after we go back and forth arguing a little bit, they call me a capo or a self-hating Jew. These are not insults that any Palestinian or Syrian would reach for. That is a mask-off night gardener moment where I realized, oh, I'm talking to an Israeli sock puppet. I also noticed throughout season 2 that Helena would respond to questions people asked of her with a question rather than answering it directly. A Fed is going to dodge questions about themselves and evade sharing any kind of real vulnerability. And when they're interrogated or questioned about their motivations and priorities, they're going to go on the attack or interrogate and question your credibility. And that brings me to the final and most conclusive piece of evidence that you are dealing with someone who is working for elites, whether they know it or not, whether they're being paid for it or not. And it's also the final conclusive piece of evidence that makes Irving realize that Heli is Helena.
What you said to me last night, it was cruel. Heli was never cruel.
Infiltrators are going to be there to tear down solidarity. They are going to be there to be cruel, to go after allies for being imperfect, and do things like dox them or smear them or demand they be deplatformed and silenced. They will target constructive projects and say these projects are imperfect and try to stop you from doing something constructive in its tracks. And here's where I finally decided it doesn't matter if you're a Fed infiltrator paid for by some government or just a really egotistical, confused, but maybe well-meaning activist. If your presence in the movement is cruel and destructive and damaging, if you are tearing down people and projects more than you are building anything up, then we gotta treat you like you're a Fed. I'm not advocating that we waterboard anybody that we think is a Fed, but I am saying we have to be smart and expect that elites are going to use psyops, bribery, and infiltrators to try and destroy our movements from within, and we have to have a plan to protect ourselves from them. I love this show and I'd love to talk more about it. Let me know if you'd like to see more analyses like this. And hey, don't forget to pre-order my book, G-Word Bad, coming in April from Interlink Press, the only Palestinian-owned press in the US. This week, you can enter to win an early signed copy of the book by donating at least $5, but as much as you are able to Muhammad Hamad. That'll be the first fundraiser link in my bio. And send a screenshot of your receipt to t4gaza@gmail.com. That's the donate link there, and those are the buy links for the pre-ordering the book up there. And one quote from the book that's relevant to this video is, "Don't let the fuckers divide us."